Hey guys, welcome in to the recorded on Saturday, airing on Saturday live, February, the hell is the date today? February 3rd, 2024, CBG Podcast. By the way, if you do appreciate the content, make sure you show a little love. Click that thumbs up button, make sure to drop me a comment. This is going to be very live and engaging here, for these CBG podcasts in particular. I mean, I'm very engaging for the TA live streams, all on the charts. But, in particular, especially with the topic today, I want it to be very engaging. I want people to share thoughts and ask questions. The more engaging you are, the more fun this is. Took me a little bit to get set up here. I have a non-traditional setup here. I'm outside on a patio here, so that's why it was taking me a little bit to go live. But also make sure you click the bell icon for all notifications to make sure that you do know when I go live each and every single weekday for All on the Charts, and also the CBG podcast. At some point I'll put some thought into, with what regularity I want to do the podcast. But really want these to be free-flowing and, like I said, interactive, and to discuss whatever's on my mind and your mind, and it doesn't have to be crypto related, guys. It can be. We can certainly talk about the economy. We will on the next upcoming CBG podcast. We're going to be talking about a lot of things with the economy, interest rates, all sorts of fun things. But for this one, I don't think we're really going to heavily get into that today. I really wanted to dedicate the podcast to nutrition and working out, because these are questions that I get pretty routinely in person live for people who I know in my personal life, and from people here on the YouTube live stream. I get a lot of frequent questions there. So definitely did want to share the wealth and knowledge that I have accumulated over my entire lifetime. I may feel young at heart, which I do. I feel very, very young at heart. In many ways, I do feel like I'm 25. Not from a maturity perspective, but just from a, I don't know. I just physically feel like I'm 25. But the reality is I'm 42. And I've been consistently weight training since the age of 14. I started in June of 1996. And I've never looked back. So over the course of that lifetime, and it's really hard to fathom that I've consistently been weight training that entire time. But over the course of the lifetime from 1996 all the way up to 2024, I mean, there's a fuck ton of knowledge I've accumulated, right? So definitely want to share the things that I have learned along the way with you, and answer any questions that you have. So let's see who we have in the live stream. We have, as always, Oof, my friend. I hope we have an opportunity to meet in person at some point. Really happy to see you in here. John, welcome in. Good to see you as well. Bitcoin feels like a calm before the storm. Stocks have been ripping. I feel like Bitcoin just on the verge of a massive move without looking back. My friend, you and I are on the same page. I'm really starting to heavily lean towards a break to the upside occurring a little bit sooner than I was anticipating by a few weeks, simply because it does appear that price is consolidating, and a lot of people, so many people, are waiting for that pullback to the 32 to 35 area that they're not going to get, in my opinion. So I'm starting to agree with you that we're going to see a break above that $50,000 to $52,000 area as soon as possibly this month. I was looking at March, but could happen as soon as this month. Oof. What do you think is the best way to put on 10 to 20 pounds of muscle in 2 months? Well, first off, I think we need to be realistic. Putting on 10 to 20 pounds of muscle in 2 months is definitely not going to happen. Diet tips shouldn't be involved at all. All right, guys. So, Oof, I'll get to your question, because we need to be realistic with what type of goals we're setting. But let's level set the conversation. Where to start? So, just to give you a little bit of background on myself so that I have some form of credibility for the things I'm speaking to. And again, I'm not an expert here. By far, I'm not far from it. I'm not an expert. I have life's knowledge that I've accumulated over years and years and years of doing this, right? Trying different quote-unquote diets, trying different workout programs, And I also feel like I'm somebody who has a lot of common sense and an educated, intelligent individual. So I'm coming at it from that mindset as well. I'm not a meathead. I'm not a I don't know how else to put it without sounding a certain way. But I'm a well-educated individual. So certainly coming at it from that perspective. But I'm not licensed in anything. I'm not a professional. But let me share a little bit of information about myself and then kind of go into some thoughts surrounding nutrition and working out. So, again, just turned 42 in January. So, I was born in January of 82. And really at a very young age, when I was 14 and a half years of age, and not that I'm keeping track, right, guys? In June of 1996 was the first time that I really started picking up weights and doing a little bit of a workout routine. And what I found for myself very early on when I started weight training, it really started to consume my life in a way that it took priority over sports that I was in. It took priority over, it just was a huge priority for me. I made time for it. So even when I would come home from school, right? School would let out at 3 o'clock. I'd come home. Man, I knew every Monday, Wednesday, Friday I had my workout routine down. Let me see if I can still recollect what I used to do. 3 sets of 10 on bench press. I'd go into lat pull down. Everything was like sets of 10 because it was what my father had taught me. So I'd do my bench press 3 sets of 10. I'd do my lat pull down 3 sets of 10. I'd go into tricep push downs for 3 sets of 10. I'd go into upright rows probably for 3 sets of 10. Everything was like 3 sets of 10. 3 sets of 10. I'd go into bicep curls for 3 sets of 10. I do a crazy, because the hammer curl, the dumbbells my dad had, they jumped up, I believe, from 20 to 40 pounds. And so I couldn't make that leap to 40 pounds. Or it was 35 or 40. So I would do insane repetitions with 20-pound dumbbells. I would do like 25 reps of hammer curls. Again, not good for longevity, but I didn't know any better as a kid. Leg extension, did leg extension as well, probably 3 sets of 10. So those were really the compound lifts that I did when I started out as a kid, working out in the basement of my parents' home. And it's funny, you never know what direction your life will go. I used to, Juan, I see you in the bottom there. Welcome in, my friend. Good to see you. Evan is in. Love to see you in here as well. Thank you for the support, guys. I always love to see the regulars. If you're not a regular, feel free to drop a comment as well. But, it's funny. You never know what direction your life is going to go. When I was a kid, I used to make fun of my father for grunting and growling downstairs working out and all this stuff. And I used to always bust his balls about waking up insanely early before he went into work to work out. The apple does not far. Gotta love these motorcycles driving by. The apple does not fall too far from the tree. So I readily acknowledge I'm very similar to my parents in many ways, just like we all are. And so I'll tell you what, when I move out of South Florida, that's one thing I'm not going to miss. The more and more I'm down here, like there are things I appreciate about being down here, but part of me can't wait to get the fuck out of South Florida. Could happen as early as the older I'm getting. There are just things I can't stand about being down here. I don't know how loud that is coming through, but it's obnoxious. The older I'm getting, the more I just want a little bit of quietness and peacefulness in my life. So I don't know if I'm going to be moving this year, but on my goals is to buy a home by 2025. There are people who know me who might laugh at that because I've spoken about buying a new car and buying a home, and all these things never happen. 2025 is the year. CBG is going to be buying a home. Keep that in mind. Anyway, so the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, and so I grew up to be someone who ended up getting up super early to work out and loves it. People that know me in the gym know. May have to rethink doing these podcasts outside. Who know me in the gym know I can be very intense, and you can hear me across the gym, and that's not for attention. That is me getting locked into my zone and really having a passion for what I do. But so June of 1996, right? Started working out, did a 3-day-a-week routine, and what I found was I was always somebody who was in sports. Played soccer, played baseball. I was a band nerd as well. And what I found was the gym just became such a priority that at times it would conflict with sports and band practices and shit like that. And that's when I really began to realize that you can call it whatever you want. You know, the people who were great at their sports, your Kobe Bryants, your Michael Jordans, your Tom Brady's, and I'm not comparing myself to these athletes. I'm just trying to give you some sort of an example here. These people were obsessed with being the best at what it was that they did because they had a passion for it. That is who I was. I absolutely, no shame looking back at this. I was obsessed. And still am with murdering myself in the gym. It is just a deep passion that I have, right? So a lot of you guys that are going to interact with me in this live stream here and you have questions, the first thing we need to kind of level set the conversation is I'm not going to approach you as a person who has suggestions for you or any input on things you could try out or things that have worked for me. This isn't coming from a place for someone who struggles to get into the gym. This is coming from a place from a person who inarguably struggled at times with knowing when to lay off the gas pedal, when to take a day off, when to be less intense and drop off the weight and have a deload week, okay? And as far as dietary things are concerned, it has changed so much throughout my entire lifetime, you know. Let's start off with nutrition, and then I'm going to go into working out specifically, right? So I'll end the workout note with saying that, and I want you to consider this as we're moving through here. If you missed the live stream of my return when I shared with you the health issues that I was going with last year, and if you haven't caught that, you guys need to check that out. It's a great educational and motivational live stream, but I'll do a follow-up on it. But I'm not exaggerating when I tell you, up until last year, I never took 1 week off of weight training. Now, I really want you to think about that. From 1996 up to 2023, I never took 1 week off of weight training. The most time I ever took off were 5 days. It happened one time, and it was because a hurricane was coming for South Florida. Okay? But outside of that, man, I didn't miss days. There were no excuses. I would have had to have been on my deathbed. You need to keep that in mind, because if you guys have goals and you have aspirations for yourself in terms of things you want to achieve in the gym, which quite often translate to successes outside of the gym, you got to fucking stop making excuses. I hear way too many excuses. What the hell? I see way too many excuses, or listen to way too many excuses from people in terms of why they can't make it in. Okay? There is no excuse. I don't want to hear it from you in terms of why you can't make it into the gym. You can make time for it, even if it's less time than you ideally would like, if you want to make it work. If you have a deep passion for getting in shape, putting on some muscle, getting strong, being focused in life, you can make the shit happen. Stop making excuses. Put down the drink, okay? Put down the partying on Friday or Saturday night, because then you struggle to get up the next day. Put down the laziness of maybe watching TV or gaming or whatever the case is, and get your fucking ass into the gym. That is my mindset. Stop making excuses. I have no excuse for people who love to dream all these dreams and share these dreams about things they want to do. They got no fucking follow through. They have no action that follows their words. I have no patience for that. None. And I'll share with you, as we kind of go through here, times in my life where it has been a struggle to get into the gym, but I made it work, okay? So again, until my diagnosis I had where I had to take time off from the gym, I never missed extensive time off from the gym. Never, no matter how busy I was. Now let's get to nutrition. So quite often, kind of coming to the current time here, people will look at me and they will make some very false assumptions. I think one of the most dangerous things that we can do, and I see Hank is in the live stream, my friend. I'll go back to the first time we met, right? I think one of the most dangerous things we can do, and we all do it as human beings, is we make assumptions about people. Right, Hanky? You made some assumptions about me with that tight white polo on and the tan complexion. This fucking prick. We can't judge a book by its cover, but we can't assume by looking at someone what their lifestyle looks like. I have had people come up to me and assume that I just eat a lot of chicken and rice and broccoli. I have had people assume that I'm on some sort of essentially steroid, okay? I have had people essentially assume that I'm on a crazy diet or I am intaking some form of an illegal substance or even a questionable legal substance. So let me clear something up with you right now. The way that I eat is sustainable, in my opinion, for the long term. So I need you to consider that. Whatever goals you have. Now, if you have shorter term goals, I don't think there's anything wrong with going a little bit extreme, doing something that you recognize with common sense is not sustainable for the long term. But I think it is most critical in life to set yourself up for long-term success. Guys, it's the same thing I talk about in the stock market, right? Or the crypto markets with investing, right? I think it is perfectly okay to take an extremely small percentage of your portfolio, and some of that is based on your risk allocation. Nice. What's up, homie? And some of that is based on your ability to read charts and trade. I don't think there's anything wrong with, for the short term. Wow, we really gonna leave that dog out the whole fucking time? Hey, do we think we can let the dog back in? Because that's not going to work well. Yeah, no, it's not going to work well. Nah, shit's not going to work well. Nah, we're just going to bark the whole time? All right, that's fucking awesome. Is it possible you could please let your dog in? Because that shit's not going to work. No. All right. May have to take the live stream in hand because somebody's being extremely inconsiderate. Anyway. One of the things that I routinely share with you guys from an investment strategy perspective is you really have to take the majority of your investments and you have to invest them for the long term, right? There should only be a small amount of your portfolio that are in small swing trade positions, right? It's the same thing with dieting or nutrition. I think it is perfectly healthy and normal to have a nutrition plan set up for you. Maybe you're going to enter a lifting competition. Maybe you want to lose weight. Maybe, you're trying to gain weight, put on muscle, as Oof was saying. So I think it's perfectly normal and acceptable to implement something for the short term. But ultimately, the way your mind needs to be focused is you need to be focused for the long term, right? What is sustainable for your nutrition plan for the long term? So that is the first thing that I would share with you, is that the way I have, the way my nutrition is set up is that I feel that it is extremely well balanced with healthy fats, healthy carbohydrates, healthy proteins, right? And I have tried, give me 1 second. Guys, is it possible to take your dog in? Guys, excuse me. Hello? Really? Do I need to come upstairs and ask you, or are you just gonna... Really? We're gonna do this. Okay, that's cool. Give me 1 second. Apologies. Let's get back into the live stream. Okay. So, where I was going with this is that I have tried different nutrition plans, okay? I've tried high protein diets, and as a result of trying like the super high protein diets where I was ingesting a ton of chicken, I had to take digestive enzymes. I was in my young 20s at that point, and it just wasn't sustainable for the long term for me. I have tried low carb diets, okay? I have tried, believe it or not, you're going to find this funny probably, I have tried essentially more of a vegan diet, not 100% vegan, but more vegan, a lot of soy. And through that process, what I found was, I thought to myself, all the meanwhile, while I'm trying all these extreme diets, right, I am doing something that is unsustainable for the long term. If I want to eat in a way that is manageable for me and works, I want to eat healthy. I want to educate myself. I want to eat whole foods, okay? I want to eat a lot of lean proteins, a lot of healthy fats, a lot of healthy carbohydrates. But I don't want to go to the extreme where I feel like I can't eat this or can't eat that, right? The other thing that I never liked the idea of, okay? I personally never liked the idea of cheat days, because cheat days to me tell, and again, it's important when you hear this from me that different things work for different people. I'm just sharing with you what has worked for me, okay? What has worked for me. Different nutrition plans work for different people. But for me, I didn't like the idea of having a cheat day. What does a cheat day tell me? A cheat day tells me that I am depriving myself of things that I enjoy so that I can wait up for that one Saturday or Friday where I can eat what I really want to eat. No, I should enjoy what I'm eating. And if I feel like having chicken wings, because I'm more of a salty person than sweet, if I feel like having pizza, if I feel like having some ice cream, if I'm out on a date and she orders dessert, I don't shy away from it, because I'm not the one that ever orders dessert. That shit is always ordered for me. I'm more of a salty person. I want to enjoy those things. But the thing I have found is, and that's how I operate, the thing I have found is, and I remind myself of this, I work out so hard in the gym. I'm so consistent, and I have such a high level of intensity in the gym, and I eat so well, and I enjoy what I'm eating. I should be able to enjoy life. I should be able to, quote-unquote, be bad once in a while and enjoy those things when I want to enjoy them. So I don't have cheat days. Again, if I'm craving chicken wings or pizza or whatever the case is, I just eat it. But the thing is, it's not all the time for me. Everything, to me, it's very important in life. And this, again, you're going to find a lot of parallels here. Things I share with working out and things I share with nutrition. You're going to find a lot of parallels here between that and life. Everything in moderation. You know, my grandfather, one of the things I really admired about my grandfather, he lived a life of moderation. And I think had he not gone through some of the hardships he went through near the end of his life, especially with my grandmother, I think he could have lived to 100 plus. You know, he died in his young 90s. But he was a really healthy guy. He got along really well. And he was a was a man of moderation. If he smoked a cigar, he stopped there the past several years of his life. But he used to smoke a cigar, but he smoked one a day. If he had a beer, it was one. You know, meat, okay? He didn't shy away from meat, but it was the size of the palm of his hand. He was just a man of moderation, you know? Him and I are very alike in many ways. I can see similarities. He was an electrical engineer. I am an actuary. Like, there are many things about his personality that I see a lot of commonalities with myself. And so what I would say to you with nutrition is, I think what you will find is, if you're not eating very healthy today, if you're not eating a lot of the, so I'll share with you common foods I eat, right? The only food that really I don't eat that is a no-no for me is red meat. Now, I think if I were to reintroduce red meat into my diet, if I ate a really lean, healthy source of red meat, I think a serving or two a week would be perfectly fine. But I chose to cut that out at the age of, it was either 23 or 24, because I started reading about all these health risks associated with red meat. You can read about them yourself. And I just said, I don't want any part of it. Now, this is a guy that used to eat tons of burgers, prime rib, roasts, pork chops, Salisbury steak. Like, I enjoyed all that stuff, and I completely cut it out cold turkey, and I don't miss it. Like, I don't. So in terms of foods that I eat, I eat turkey. Turkey is an extremely healthy source of protein. Mostly it's extra lean. Sometimes I'll go for the less lean. Chicken breasts. Tons of fish, man. Tons of fish. You name me a fish, I eat it. Tons of fish, seafood. But I would say most of my protein throughout the past several years of my life has been sourced from a fish, actually. And obviously eggs and egg whites. Okay? Here's another thing that's changed about my philosophy on eggs and egg whites. I used to shy away from eating eggs. I would just mostly do egg whites. No. I've read a lot about how healthy those yolks are for you. So I eat, again, I want to preface how I eat. This was prior to my surgery. I'll get into how my eating has changed since my surgery. But I'd eat on average 1 to 2 whole eggs a day. Okay? And a lot of egg whites. As far as carbohydrates, quinoa. Couscous has been something relatively new I've been factoring in. Sweet potatoes, love sweet potatoes. Oatmeal. Even some healthier cereals. I have Heritage cereal in my cupboard here. Grape nuts as well. Grape nuts are very good. What other carbohydrates? Main carbohydrates. Tortillas. Generally low carb, higher fiber tortillas. Fats. Oils, nuts, avocado, yolks from the egg. I try to minimize animal fats. So the chicken, I really try to get a lean. Usually it's extremely lean turkey or chicken. I try to stay away from processed foods, but I am a sucker for salty foods. So I love chicken fingers. I love like breaded chicken. So I got some of that stuff in my freezer. Truffle fries and fries. It's a weakness. If I'm out to eat, I'm going to have some truffle fries and fries if I'm with my girl, right? Other common things in my diet. Beans, fruits, very important. Berries, fresh berries, apples. There isn't a fruit I don't like, but the ones that are typically in my diet are berries. So blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, strawberries. I think that covers it. Flaxseed, coconut flour. I keep thinking of more things. I would say that kind of high level covers it. The greens, though. The greens are extremely important. Dark leafy greens. Spinach, broccoli, Brussels sprouts. Love Brussels sprouts. Asparagus. The thing I think you will find is, even if a lot of these foods you're not eating in your routine diet, which I would highly suggest that you do, I have found, just kind of looking at things intuitively in the past several years, the more I introduced those foods into my diet and ate them, the other interesting thing, the less I crave foods that are not good for you. Like, I really don't. So when I say I will eat chicken wings, and I do eat pizza, and I do eat ice cream, or I'll have, if I'm out to eat, I'll have a dessert, a brownie, hot fudge sundae, whatever the case is. those things are so far and few in between. I don't crave it. And I think the reason I don't crave it is because a long time ago, I started knocking that stuff out of my diet more routinely and started eating a lot of whole foods. And as a result, my body craves that stuff. You also need to consider, based on your activity level, you need to eat foods that you need to be intaking and eating foods that sustain your lifestyle, right? So for myself, I'm not exaggerating, prior to my surgery, I was in the gym on average 2.5 hours a day. Now I want you to think about that, 2.5 hours a day. That accounts for warming up, because most guys skip that. Here's some tips for you in the gym. Very important to look into dynamic warm-ups. So if you're doing bench press, if you're doing an upper body day or a lower body day, you need to look up some good movements to do, some dynamic movements. I'm not talking static stretching. That's the worst thing you can do before you start lifting weights. Some dynamic movements to get the blood flowing and movements into those joints before you begin pounding heavy weight. I spend time doing dynamic warm-up that can last 10 to 15, usually about 15 minutes. Then I start lifting. Then I do my cardio. Then I static stretch. Every day I static stretch. Every day. So there's cardio, there's weights, there's a dynamic warm-up, and there's static stretching at the end. Most guys that come into the gym, I'm just speaking to guys in this case. Ladies, you can tell me what the women are most. Of course, I would actually say it's like that for women too. I would say I don't think guys and women are that much different in this way, but most people who I see go to the gym, I don't see them doing any form of a dynamic warm-up. They might go on a bench press and all of a sudden throw a 45 on each end, and then all of a sudden they jump up from 135 all the way up to 185. Like it, nobody warms up, because what happens is, I think if I'm putting myself in their shoes, they're in such a rush to get their workout in. Of course, I see a lot of people on their phones, but they're in such a rush to get their workout in, they don't bother to do the quote-unquote little things that matter for longevity. You got to make time to do a dynamic warm-up, else you're increasing your risk for injury. I'm just telling you that right now. For as long as I've been working out, I have had so few injuries, especially relative to when I speak to other people. Again, this goes back to the premise of thinking long-term. Remember, we talked about nutrition long-term. You got to think how can I eat that is sustainable for the long term? How can I eat which supports my activity level? Because there's no way, guys, two thoughts here. There's no way you're going to have an extreme diet in place for a long period of time. And number two, there is no way, it's an impossibility, for you to have a diet in place that doesn't sustain. You're not going to be able to achieve your goals in the gym if you don't have a nutrition plan that supports it. Okay? So you also need to be thinking about long-term with injuries. The thing is, when you're in your 20s and even 30s, you don't think about injuries especially when you're in your 20s. But I'll tell you what, being 42 is a lot. Your mindset is a lot different than 22. You got to be doing those small things. You got to stretch out at the end of your workout. You got to warm up at the beginning of your workout. Because if you don't do that, injuries will begin to pile up. There are so many guys I've spoken to in the gym that are walking around with herniated discs and bulging discs and torn rotator cuffs and, I got this injury and that injury and I don't know what this is. And I'm like, Christ, I don't know what you're doing, but brother, I'm 42. I've been working out since 14, and I don't have any of these issues. So I'm not a genetic freak. I just take care of myself. That's just the reality of the situation. It's like somebody who, think of it this way, I'm going to once again relate it to investing. It's somebody who does their due diligence and homework on how to properly invest with risk management, who is successful in the market, versus the guy who thinks he can just quit his job and day trade and make $1 million a day and then finds out he's in dire straits, right? Because he hasn't done his homework and hasn't done the education, hasn't taken the time to educate himself and be well-versed in finances prior to making that decision, right? So you always have to be thinking for the long term. That is the way my nutrition is structured. Okay. Now, getting to another point that I just thought about here, and I'll get to the comments here, and then we're going to get into workout routines. The other thing is substances, putting substances into your body. I used to be someone who, I guess you could say the most questionable substance I ever took was pre-workout. I don't intake any pre-workout, and I suggest to you guys, if you're on any form of a pre-workout, get off of it. There is no pre-workout that I'm aware of that at the end of the day is healthy for you. My pre-workout is coffee. It's coffee. I have on average 2 cups of coffee in the morning. That's my pre-workout. That pre-workout shit is loaded with so much artificial sweeteners and shit that's bad. From what I've read, it's just so bad for you. You got to get off of it. And if you need pre-workouts to sustain your workout programs, you need to take a hard look in the mirror and ask why. Look, this is coming from a place. When I was super busy studying for my actuarial exams, and I had a full-time job, and I was in a committed relationship. Any relationship I was in was always a committed relationship. Don't want to paint the wrong picture here, but when I was in a relationship, it was so hard to balance everything. And so I was drinking Red Bulls in the morning, sugar-free. But I was drinking Red Bulls in the morning, so I was awake for my workout. I remember those times. I remember being on pre-workout. I remember even with coffee. I remember doing coffee and pre-workout. I remember drinking more coffee than I ever should have drank before a workout and getting jitters. There are unhealthy things I did that I've learned from that I'm trying to share with you that you can't be doing that stuff. You need to exercise common sense. Again, at the end of the day, the way I would check yourself is this sustainable for the long term? Jim. Remember Jim? The guy who collapsed at the gym? Jim, that's his name, Jim. And he collapsed at the gym, and we called the ambulance, came out. It was a miracle he's alive. He told me he was on pre-workouts. He was doing pre-workouts all the time. Tons of pre-workouts. Tons of energy drinks. I was like, Jim, you can't be doing that, man. You know that, especially at your age. I hate to say that, but you can't be doing that shit. You know that. It's not good for you. It's not good for your heart. It's not good for your health. So I would encourage you to, if you're on pre-workouts, to get away from pre-workouts. And I think this is something that I've maybe taken for granted, especially after being in South Florida for so long and talking to people, that I felt was understood. And again, this is just my educated view. Don't you ever consider putting steroids or any illegal substance or any questionable substance in your body. Don't ever consider that. I have never in my life even considered that. Never. Again, I'll go back to something I spoke to in my live stream when I came back to YouTube. I was the guy who was 16, 17 years old when creatine was becoming a big thing and I was hearing about it. I never did it because, to me, okay, whether right or wrong, even though creatine is a natural substance in a lot of meats and other foods, being uneducated at that age as a teenager, I thought to myself, it sounds like cheating. It sounds like if you take creatine, it's some sort of performance-enhancing substance that can help you lift more. And I don't want that. I want to eat naturally, and I want to work my ass off and achieve what I can achieve in the gym. And so I never took creatine. Never, ever took creatine until I was in my 30s. Okay? Now I'm on a very low dosage of creatine. I take the threatine pill. You can find them on Amazon. Threatine pills. I take between 1/3 to 2/3 of a full serving per day. That's what I take. But even that, I just never wanted to take it when I was younger because I've always been somebody, and hopefully this shines through in the material I put out on YouTube in general. I pride myself on integrity. I can't do something. I just can't operate in life in general in a manner that goes against my moral fiber. It's just how I was born and raised, We all can look at our parents, hopefully, and take a lot of positive things away from it. We can also take some constructive things away from it. But one thing I will give my parents a lot of credit for, and I'm thinking of my father in particular making this comment. Unfortunately, he probably won't listen to this to hear it, but here it is the man is a living testimony to integrity. My father is a living testimony to integrity. I think if I ever found out something about my father that I never would have thought to be true, it would literally shatter like my view of things, because I view my father, for all his faults, for all the things I can laugh about, for all the things my brother and I have poked fun at him for all the things that I can still look at to this day and be like, you know what, I want to learn from that. I don't want to be like that. I want to be a different person in that regard. My father has more positive qualities than not, and one of them is integrity. And I think that's something I definitely have gotten from him through the years, and so that manifests itself within my workout program. The one thing, and this especially came true after my cancer diagnosis, okay? I hate honestly, part of me hates to always go back to this cancer diagnosis. I'm kind of tired of talking about it, but one thing that I've really appreciated since that diagnosis is I am somebody who tends to be a very critical person on myself. But if I were to look in the mirror today and I were to look at myself, first off, it feels fucking good to actually feel positive about myself, because I struggled about that for a while. But I earned where I'm at. I took absolutely no shortcuts in life. And so the way I would relate this to you listening is, if you have a goal, if you have something you're going after, it could be something superficial. I mean, we've all been there as a lifter. You may want to have six-pack abs, or you may want to have a bigger biceps or bigger chest, or whatever the case is. You got to earn it. You got to educate yourself. If you're talking about abdominals, a lot of that is nutrition. Most of that is nutrition. So if you're not eating healthy and you're drinking all the time, or you're eating shitty food, you're not going to get a six-pack. You're not going to get six-pack abs. If you're training your biceps once a week, you're not going to get big biceps. If you want to get bigger legs and stronger legs, if you're training your legs once per week, you're not going to. You got to train your legs more than once per week if you want to get bigger legs and stronger legs, right? So you have to be realistic with yourself. But that's what I would say in relation to nutrition. Now, the last thing I will say, and then I'm going to get to the comments here before we go into gym routine. The last thing I'll say about nutrition is I have had to make some tweaks since my diagnosis and kind of getting my so my metabolism right now is very low, okay, and I'm trying to get on the right medication to get my metabolism correct. So for the time being, I have been tracking calories, and I have been eating less calories than I normally would. What I would share from you there is I'm doing this for the shorter term to sustain my goals and to ensure that I don't gain weight. Because if you have a low metabolism, you do have an increased risk of gaining weight. So I am slightly paranoid about that and also very self-aware of it. But the other thing I would share with you is, if you've never... Here's something else I would share with you about that. If you have never tracked your calories before... If you have never weighed your food before, if you have never tracked in one day what you've eaten before, do it. Do it. Now, here's what you need to promise yourself. You don't need to promise me. You need to promise yourself this. I think you need to promise yourself that if you begin tracking your calories, you're not going to do it endlessly. Because I just don't think that's sustainable for the long term. I don't think... I've seen it, and I'm not going to name names. I've seen it in people where it's like they don't want to go out to eat. They become so obsessed. They don't want to go out to eat. They're measuring everything. And then they also start imposing it on their wife, or their husband. And it's like their obsession is just unhealthy, in my opinion. If you're going to do it in a manner, in my opinion, that is to be more informative and self-aware of how many calories you're intaking. Guys, let me give you an example. Before this live stream, I have some sweet potato chips. Yes, sweet potato chips in my cupboard, and I wanted some before this live stream. So I took a handful and I threw them on the scale, weighed it out, and it was just under one serving. And it was like, it was like 150 calories, 7 grams of fat. I was like, Christ, this is 150 calories and 7 grams of fat. And like, I plowed through those chips in like 5 seconds. I was like, this is unenjoyable. I was like, if I really wanted some sweet potato chips, I would like sit down and have some fucking sweet potato chips. And the other thing that made me realize is, man, 150 calories. Like, for 150 calories, I could have like a breast of chicken and have like 30 grams of protein. So, again, there's a balance there where you don't want to become unhealthily obsessed with it and do it, in my opinion, for a long term. But I think weighing your food, especially if you're overweight, or especially if you're just trying to educate yourself and become more self-aware of how many calories you're consuming, it's invaluable. Weighing your food is invaluable. Just to become more self-aware of how much food you're intaking. Because, in my opinion, when you start weighing your food, you become more self-aware of how many calories you're missing out on, you're not eating enough, or you become more self-aware of how much overeating you're doing. Oh my God, I consumed 120 grams of fat today? Really? Like, did that just happen? Oh my God, I consumed 400 grams of carbohydrates? How did that happen? Or I only ate 80 grams of protein today? So it just makes you more self-aware. And again, it's nothing for me that I want to do for the long term, but as long as I'm going through what I'm going through right now, it's going to be something I'm doing for the next 6 to 8 weeks. I'm going to be weighing food. I'm weighing everything. I had I'll tell you the biggest thing probably that I was unaware of. How many calories are in alcohol? I just had essentially a TNT, and I weighed out the gin that I had in the TNT, which I'm done with now, and I'm not drinking anymore after looking at the calories. Over 200 calories, 240 calories in the gin. That's insanity. So just being self-aware of how many calories you're consuming with alcohol is also another important point. So let me get to the comments, and then we're going to get into my thoughts on different gym routines here. Kyle, good to see you, my friend. Welcome in. You were going to have a burger, now you're having mahi mahi. Am I making you turn healthy? Mahi mahi is a much healthier choice than a burger. Oh, Evan. Oof asks, running or swimming? The one comment I have on running or swimming, if you're a proficient swimmer, based on my understanding, swimming all the way. Now, why would I say swimming all the way? Running is high impact on your knees. So when I envision a runner, right, and you can look this up. Actually, I want you guys to do a Google search as you're listening to me, or I want you to do a Google search after you're done listening to me. Do a Google search on long distance runner versus sprinter. Again, Google search long distance runner versus sprinter. So when you say running, I envision a long distance runner. These long distance runners I view as having skinny fat. You know, they don't have much muscle, kind of a skinny fat, right? A lot of impact on your knees. You know, versus sprinters, I would term myself more of a sprinter. I do a lot of sprint intervals. We'll get into that. But they have huge quads. They're built with a lot of muscle. When you're sprinting, sprinting engages, I think it's I forget the muscle fiber term. I'm going to confuse them. But it engages a different muscle fiber than long-term distance running. And so sprinters, like the way they look, is so much different than a long-distance runner. So if you were to ask me running versus swimming, I'm assuming long-distance running is what you're speaking to, and I would say, not good for your knees, not good for your body in general. Swimming, literally, if you look it up, it is absolutely, possibly the best aerobic form of exercise you can do. Do I swim? No, I do not. But it is zero impact. And swimming engages your whole body, upper body, lower body. Swimming all the way, my friends. Swimming all the way. If you're a proficient swimmer, do swimming over running. Do swimming over running, in my opinion. Love you too, brother. Love you too, Hank. No question there, man. You know I had to call you out on that joke way back in the day. It's just funny to think about, right? So, appreciate you more than I can say. We're going back to the dog situation. Yeah, we'll deal with that when I see them out next. But you can see there's no dog right now. No, I love dogs. I would never... I won't even joke about that. I love dogs. I would never instill any violence on dogs. I love dogs very much. Do I know Jordan Peterson? I do know Jordan Peterson. I have listened to him in the past. He is doing a beef-only diet, and he says it is health. Yeah, here's the thing. And I know about the carnivore diet as well. I listen to a lot of Joe Rogan. You know, there's a fine line in the sand when you educate yourself in, I'm going to just use this term. You can almost over-educate yourself. I'll use the example of salt. Oh, if you take this much salt, it's bad for you. Then a study comes out and it says, oh, if you take this much salt, it's extra sodium, it's good for you, right? We can read all sorts of different studies and we can almost over-educate ourselves. What I would say to you is, just like I say on my All on the Chart stream, keep it stupid simple, interject logic and intuition as well as common sense. All right? To me, doing an all-beef diet sounds like stupidity. I don't think an all-beef diet sounds like a smart thing. Now, if you want to go do it, go for it. But I think the thing that intuitively, based on all the education and knowledge I have accumulated over the years, the thing that makes sense to me, I almost said my real name there for a second, CBG. Eat some healthy proteins, eat some healthy fats, eat some healthy carbohydrates. Because the world has become overpopulated, we have, again, this is going to education. It makes sense to me intuitively. We have mass-produced foods. We have a lot of processed foods because we've been overpopulated for an extended period of time. Try to stick to whole foods. Try to stick to your asparagus, your Brussels sprouts, your spinach, your organic chicken, your wild, and here's another thing, wild versus farm raised. Try to stick to wild salmon. Try to stick to free-range chickens for eggs. So, and try to eat all that stuff balanced. That's just me interjecting logic. And I let me just say this: energy levels, and how I feel today. I don't exaggerate when I say this. I feel better today than I did last year. And last year I felt better than the year before that. And that year I felt better than the year before that. I continually feel, even with all this surgical, all this fucking bullshit that's come up with my health, that was, by the way, there was someone very insensitive on Twitter who I blocked. I rarely block someone, but I blocked this person because I felt the comment was very insensitive. There was nothing I could have done to prevent my cancer. Let me just say that right now. For anyone to come out and make a statement that insinuates I could have done something to prevent getting cancer, I want you to do something. I want you to take your head and shove it up your ass, because I have zero tolerance for that. Zero tolerance. Go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. I don't think I need to repeat it a third time, but I will. And if YouTube demonetizes, fine. Go fuck yourself. There is nothing I could have done to prevent thyroid cancer. Right? I want to make that point clear. But what I will say is, despite the circumstances, I still feel like I'm getting myself in the best shape of my life. And a big part of that is the education and knowledge and things that I have learned through the process of nutrition and eating the healthiest I've ever eaten before. Let's see what else we have. Chicken, rice, and fish in moderation, Evan. Very healthy. In moderation, though. Does my back ever hurt? No, it doesn't. if you're let me put it to you this way: if you're going through a daily routine of where you have frequent neck or back pain, which is common in a lot of people, it could be anything from something inside the gym to outside the gym. Posture. People underrate how important it is to have good posture. I bust my girlfriend quite frequently in terms of how she drives. I will say to her, why are you leaning forward? You do realize when you comment to me you have neck pain, probably leaning forward and not, resting your neck is probably not the best thing for posture. I've seen her sitting at her desk with not the best posture. And so just being mindful of having really good posture, not having rounded shoulders, having your shoulders back when you walking upright, when you're driving, not leaning forward and putting pressure on your neck. There are all sorts of things that can lead into that. Brian, if you're serious, it's impossible. It's a near impossibility to eat 0 carbs. So I'm not going to pay any attention to that comment because it doesn't even make any sense. It's a literal impossibility to eat 0 carbs. If you ate 0 carbs, you would have 0 energy. Okay, so again, it's not sustainable for the long term. Makes no sense. Let's get into if you have any realistic questions for me or any thoughts you want to share, drop them in the comments in terms of nutrition or gym routine. But let's get into gym routine, and I can already see we're well into the live stream. As you can see, this is why this was the only subject. So in terms of gym routine, man, things for me have changed so much over the years. I would say to you, in terms of coming up with a good gym routine, what has worked for me, trying different things, being open-minded, and listening to educated resources. So I think it is important to always keep your ears, eyes, and mind open to other people's educated views. Now, this doesn't mean that you listen to anyone and everyone, but do some research and also listen to those people around you whose opinions you respect. Because the reality is you never will ever know everything, right? So it's important to kind of feed off other people and try to learn where you can. For me, the way my workout programs have evolved, first off, I always go in with a goal. I always have a goal in mind. I always have something I'm looking to accomplish, and I have a high level of intensity. Get off your phone. Do I really need to say this? Stop being on your phone in the gym. Let me just say that first. It actually irritates me when I see people on their phone all the time in the gym. Get off your phone. Okay? Use your girlfriend, your wife, whatever. She can wait. Honestly, if you're with a supportive partner, they should respect your time in the gym. They should respect your time in the gym. You do not need to be texting and calling and, you don't need to be doing that shit while you're in the gym. Your friends, work, you should have some separation. When you are in the gym, you are in the motherfucking gym to train, okay? I always joke with people that I have my white-collar job and my blue-collar job. My blue-collar job is the gym. Right? If I want to text my girlfriend back, if I want to send her a photo, if I want to do something, it's in between a set, I'm breaking, whatever, it's a rarity. It happens, but it's a rarity. Besides that, she knows and she understands me and is similar in nature. She can fucking wait. Just like when she's in the gym and she's working out, I can fucking wait. I do not expect her to get back to me during a workout program. Go fucking do your thing. Like, that's why you're there. You're not there to cater to me. Don't cater to me. Your gym time is time for yourself. It's that small window of you have a small window of time during the day where it's truly for yourself. Once you leave Iron Paradise, you're off to your job. You're off to your kids. You're off to your wife. You're off to your dickhead boss. All right? Not that I know anything about a dickhead boss, but, if I did have a dickhead boss, if that was the case, if I reported to a true asshole who was a polarizing personality and was a true fucking asshole, it's my moment of time away from him, you know? So that's that small moment in time where you just have time for yourself, right? So make the most of it, maximize it, you know? The other thing that I've become self-aware of is, and maybe this is something as you later get along in your gym routine, this is maybe something you didn't expect me to speak to. Be self-aware. If people in the gym need help, if you can tell somebody needs help with motivation, or somebody needs a spot, or somebody needs help with something, be self-aware to help them out. Be self-aware to be a little selfless and help them out. There are times where I've taken a longer break in between my sets just to listen to someone, or just to spot someone, or just to offer them a suggestion on something when they ask me a question on something, they want to ask me for advice. Be fucking open-minded. Like, it is your time, but it's also a potential avenue to help people out, right? Help others out. And it's something I've been a lot more mindful of the older I've gotten. Now, in terms of specific gym routines, I think this is what you guys want to hear about, at least what I've been asked about. Before we get to this punchline, I need to use the bathroom, so you're going to have to hold on a second. I'll be right back. I'll be right back with you in a second. All right, back. So let me start this out by saying, have you ever heard the terminology or the phrase different strokes for different folks? Okay. I was thinking about how to start this off. So let me just say, however I'm going to describe what works for me and things I've learned, different workout programs work for different people. I can think of someone, his wife joked about how he works out. He does a lot of powerlifting. And he does a set, and then he waits, she jokes. She's like, you wait like 5 minutes in between your sets. Doing a set, waiting 5 minutes, and then doing a set. Look, if that works for you, go for it. That does not work for me, okay? So everybody has a different philosophy on working out. For me, number one, what I would say is your form, before you ever consider raising that weight, you better have really crisp form. Your form is number one. The weight will come. Get your form down, because if your form is not right, you're going to injure yourself. Okay, so get your form down. Two, you always have to have a goal and a plan when you go into the gym. Now, things can change when you get into the gym, but you have to have a goal. You have to have a vision. I'm already strategizing and envisioning my workout tomorrow. That is really what it means to be passionate about working out. I already am thinking about what I'm going to do tomorrow morning. So you have to have a goal and a vision when you go in. If I'm spotting you on bench press and I'm like, okay, so what are you going for? How many reps are you going for? And you're like, I don't know. Like, I'm thinking, no. Done. I don't even want to spot you at that point. Have a fucking goal. You're going for 5 reps, great. You're going for 3 reps, great. You're going for 6 reps, great. You better tell me. You have to have a goal. You have to have a vision. You have to be hungry for it. All these things, I think people take these things for granted, and they might listen to me and say, oh, it sounds nice, or this guy, he's a little different, and yeah, it sounds nice on the surface, but not all of us are like that. Let me just tell you right now, you will never, I really want you to hear me out on this, you will never achieve any serious goals, fitness-wise, nutrition-wise, gym-wise, lifting-wise, unless you're hungry for it and you have the right mindset. If you do not have the right mindset, you will not succeed. You just won't. You won't. One of the greatest things that I think that I appreciate about all the things that have culminated throughout my own personal career in the gym, my blue-collar job, is that these are things that I have achieved that no one can take away from me. Like, when I look at my life, there's 2 things I look at, and I say to myself, you can say whatever you want about me, you can never take these things away from me. Number one, I got my fellowship in the Society of Actuaries. Say what you want about me, I fucking earned that. You can never take it away from me. Those are my credentials. Number 2, I have achieved all the lifts that I'm able to do, whatever my physical aesthetics are, however I look, I have earned that. I've worked for that. You can't take that away from me. I didn't do that jointly with anyone. I didn't buy it. I can't sell it. I earned it. You have to earn this shit. If you follow me on Instagram at CryptoBullGod, I always talk about earning life. Earn it. You got to earn this shit. It's one of the reasons I have such a problem with so much of the mentality in the world today. I hate to say this because it's going to make me sound old. I don't really care. It's like this younger generation that feels like they're owed something in life. You're not owed a goddamn thing in this life. You know what you're owed in this life? Are you ready for this? You know what you're owed in this life? What you earn. Whatever you're owed in this life is what you earned. That is my view. And if you have that mentality going into things, you're on the right course, in my opinion. But in terms of things that I've learned and how I structure my weight training, a couple things. First off, I think it's important to realize that you do need to have some weeks that are intense and some weeks that are less intense. So what I would call loading up weeks, like weeks where you go heavier, and then weeks where you deload and go lighter. Now, the reason that you want to do that is because you don't want to overly fatigue your body. You want to allow your body to recuperate and grow, because your muscle growth occurs outside of the gym. You have to allow your muscles to recover, right? You can't overtrain. Overtraining will actually result in over-fatiguing your muscles and not allowing your body to grow and recover, right? So you do have to have deload. This is one of the things that I definitely learned because, again, my problem was putting my foot on the accelerator too much, not allowing my body to recoup, right? So if you're going heavy a couple weeks in a row, you better take that week where you're going super light and just working on your form, right? And going real slow, higher repetitions, quicker breaks in between. A third thing I would share, we talked about form, we talked about deloading. Third principle I would share is, how about abdominal training? What's my view on abdominal training? My view on training my abs has significantly changed over time. I believe what I read, I think Bruce Lee, I think he said, which is essentially your abs are that one muscle group you can work every day and not have it be fatigue like other body parts. You can really train your abs every day. That's the philosophy I take. I train my abs every single day. Once in a blue moon, like today was actually once in a blue moon, I will take a day off from training abs. But what I do is, the way I structure my workout program in general is I hop from one exercise to the next. So I'll give you an example. Tomorrow, I'm doing bench press. Then I'm going to go into toes to bar. And then I'll go back to bench press and toes to bar and bench press and toes to bar. And then I go into close grip bench press. And then I'll do hanging knee raises. Close grip bench press, hanging knee raises, close grip bench. So I'm constantly moving. One of the principles that I have found that has worked well for me, I don't like taking extensive breaks between my sets. I might need to catch my breath and take 60 seconds, but I like to go from one exercise to the next. Or like on a back day, I go push-pull. I'll do a lat pull-down and then a skull crusher, and then a lat pull-down, a skull crusher. Go into rows and do tricep push-downs. So I constantly am moving from one exercise to another, which is really important for me. And in terms of number of ab exercises per day, I think a minimum most days are 3 different exercises for me. So I'll hit generally at least 3 different types of ab exercises. How about people ask me questions on repetitions and numbers of sets? You know, it varies, but in generalities, most exercises, my rep ranges are between 6 to 13, 6 as high as 13. Do I go lower than 6? Do I go higher than 13? Yes. But in generalities, most of my sets are between 6 to 13. Most set numbers are 4. I'll hit like 4 sets. Sometimes I hit 5. Sometimes I hit 6. Sometimes I go up to 10 sets. Today I deloaded on deadlifts, and I was waiting 60 seconds in between my sets, and I did 10 sets of 6, right? So, but in generalities, most of the times I am waiting, or I am doing 4 to 5 sets. Muscle groups. I work 2 to 3 muscle groups per day. 2 to 3 muscle groups per day. And I do a balance of weight training and cardio. One thing some people could fault me for, which I think, in some ways I think it's a fair fault. In other ways I think it's not, and I'll explain why. In some ways you could look at my workout program and be like, you could mix it up more. Like, I think you're way too regimented and you do the same exercises every day, and I don't know how the hell you do that. So there's a lot of truth to that. I do a lot of the same exercises every week. So I would say 2 things to that. Number one, that being that regimented and being that, I hate to use the word inflexible because it's really not that, just being that regimented and just being that consistent with the way I'm doing it, that has led to my successes. So I don't really regret being that way. I think I'm in phenomenal shape, especially for my age, so I don't regret it. But on the flip side, I do think there is some truth to going outside your comfort zone and mixing it up, right? Now, I was thinking about this coming into the live stream. You quite often hear from people who are successful in life in general. Success is very subjective, but successful in life, personal growth often comes at times when we're the least comfortable, we're the most uncomfortable. And what is the way that you become the least comfortable in life? You mix it up. You change things up, right? So I think there's a lot of truth to that. I'll give you an example. I like doing a leg press. So maybe mixing it up is, instead of doing leg press, still do leg press, but do single leg press. Do one leg at a time. Do Bulgarian squats or split squats, where it's one leg at a time. So training one arm or one leg at a time, putting the solely, losing my train of thought. Instead of training both body parts at the same time, or the movement with both appendages at the same time, both arms or both legs, put the sole focus on the right arm, the left arm, the right leg, the left leg. Another example would be leg extensions, right? Doing instead of doing a leg extension with both legs, using one leg at a time. So I think there is definitely some value to mixing it up. If you were to critique my workouts, that's absolutely something you could point out, and something I would encourage you to try. Mix it up more. I know it's something I've challenged myself with. If you're looking for fat loss, if you're looking to get more lean, hit routines, guys. Hit routines. High intensity interval training. Putting together something at the end of your workout that may only last 10 to 15 minutes, and you do 4 rounds. You put together 3 to 5 exercises. You do them as quickly as you can, and you wait 60 seconds. You wait a minute to 2 minutes in between each round. They can be extremely effective at fatiguing you, having fat loss, increasing your endurance, and it's a lot more. Guys, let me just tell you this right now. If you put together a quick hit routine at the end of your workout, a lot more effective than just doing static cardio. Absolutely. Another thing that I would share with you, be as active as you can throughout the day. Now, for someone like myself, I work remote. If you can get out in the middle of your day and go for a 30-minute walk, do it. But CBG, I just spent 90 minutes or 2 hours at the gym. Okay, go out for a walk. Be as active as you can throughout the day. Even just a nice static walk, getting more steps in throughout the day is definitely very advantageous. What else can I share? What questions do you guys have? I'm trying to come up with as much as I can here. What questions do you have? What workout am I doing tomorrow? I am doing chest. I'm doing bench press, just flat. And incline, actually. No, incline as well. A little bicep action. Abs. Definitely going to do abs. 3 to 4 exercises for sure, especially after taking today off. I felt like my abs actually needed to recoup a little bit. That's it. Trying to think what else. I like to go heavier on compound movements. So I like to go heavier on squats, deadlifts, typically. Bench press, I honestly don't go super heavy on. For me, it's interesting. The older I've gotten less concerned about. Bench press is a great example. I care less today than I did 5 to 10 years ago about how much I bench press. I do a lot of cable flies, a lot of flies for my chest. Like my chest, I feel like is very well developed, but it's not from bench press. It's from doing flies, right? So for me, I want to have a very well developed chest. I don't need to do bench press to support that. I can do chest flies and be completely fine having a very, very well developed chest. But bench press is one of those things for the past many years I've just struggled with doing a lot of weight on for whatever reason. I have a very strong back, very strong shoulders, triceps, all the supporting cast. For whatever reason, my bench press is not great. It used to be one of my strongest lifts, but now it's really not. I can squat and deadlift a lot for my weight, but bench press not so much for whatever reason. Probably because I don't make it a point of emphasis. That's probably a fair critique. Other things. Guys, I'm not seeing any questions coming. If you do have any questions, let me know. And if you're watching this in syndication, you can drop me a comment. I've been terrible about getting back to comments, but I'll do my best. I need to get better about that. I've seen a lot of comments come through notifications. It's just a balancing act, but I'll try to get much better about that. Yeah, I would say one of the best ways that I've gotten to the point I've been at is to be very open-minded and trying to learn from people I trust, Filter out the negative as well, because here and there I get there's a difference between providing constructive criticism and then just being critical, right? If there's one thing I can't stand in my life, especially after what I've gone through and my hormones being a little out of whack, being a little more touchy than normal, I can't stand critical people. So if you're out there listening to this and I've been shorter with you than normal, probably because you're a critical person and I just don't have tolerance for it. But be very receptive to constructive feedback, and be open-minded. You're never going to know all there is to know, and you always have to be willing to learn from others. What other words of wisdom can I share with you guys in terms of workouts? Evan, I love it, man. Flooding the comments here with crypto. Evan, I don't know if you've noticed, we're talking about working out, not charting, but okay. Trying to think of anything else I can share with you before I sign off here. I guess what I would share with you is be realistic with your expectations. Have a goal in mind. Oof, you hit me up with that question of putting on 10 to 20 pounds of muscle in 2 months. I don't know if you were being serious or just trying to have fun, but you can't put 10 to 20 pounds of muscle on in 2 months. You can't do that. But what you can do is put a plan in place from a longevity standpoint to put on 10 to 20 pounds of muscle over the course of a year. I don't know how long. I'm not a nutritionalist. I don't know if that would be 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, but you have to be realistic. You have to play the long game, right? People who are the most successful investors, people who are the most successful in the gym, they're thinking long term, and they're in it for the long term. They're hungry, and they go after it each and every day, and they're consistent about it, right? Again, I'll reiterate something I said at the very start, and maybe this is how we'll close out. There are many positive attributes and many positive characteristics that you exhibit in the gym that can bleed off and feed into your everyday life if you allow for it. Dedication, resilience, persistency, perseverance, adversity, all these things that you face in the gym, if you see them through, you're going to be confronted with a lot of the same things in your everyday life. And it can manifest itself in your everyday life. I can't tell you, I'll say this again, when I was going through what I was going through last year, I was miserable when I couldn't get into the gym. When I did not have that structure in my life, oh my God, it was rough. When I'm in the gym right now, a lot of the things that I feed on personally, here's something else I guess I would hit on. A lot of the things that I feed on right now, I think about when I was stuck in bed and I felt like I couldn't do anything. When all I could do was go out for a walk. And, as much as I look back on those walks, and there's a part of me that appreciates going for a walk every morning because of who I was with. I wasn't by myself. Most mornings I was with someone, and part of me loved that, having that time with that person. But I gotta tell you, it was so frustrating not having that structure in my life. And so there's so much of me that draws upon that in the gym. And here's another thing you should find is if you are dedicated and consistent with getting in and hitting the weights and just sticking with it. Even if you're not, guys, if you're looking in the mirror and you're just not seeing the positive progress, stick with it and stick with it and stick with it and stick with it. And a month turns into 3 months, turns into 6 months, turns into a year, year and a half, 2 years. Then it's a lifestyle. What you can do is, if you have that positivity in your life and you have that positive success in your life, you can draw on that and feed on that. So when you're going through a very difficult time in your life, when you're going through an extremely difficult time in your life, or even when you're in the gym and it's not that difficult time in your life, but you're going in the gym and you feel unmotivated, what happens is, because you've been dedicated before, you draw on that. You say, for example, you wake up Wednesday morning, you're not feeling it. You get yourself motivated and you get yourself in the mental frame of mind to do it, because you said, I've done this before. Like, I've done it before, I can do it again. So the more positivity from your past that you have to draw on, the more positive you will be today and moving forward. It's like a snowball effect, right? But I think I'm going to close it out here. I hope you guys appreciated the content. If you did, make sure to hit the thumbs up button, drop me a comment, and share any other questions that you have with me. If you're catching this for the first time and you couldn't catch it live, share any comments and questions that you have for me. I know it's a Saturday night. Engagement's going to be kind of tough on a Saturday night. You have friends and family you're spending time with, which I can certainly understand. So, but if you have any questions, let me know. And peace out, Evan. And really appreciate the engagement I did have, and appreciate your support. And until next time, everybody, I will be back for All in the Charts on Monday. So until next time, let's all spread awareness and carry the education forward. Take care, guys.